The night cracked open with a soundless kind of pain, the kind that lives behind polite smiles and flickering restaurant lights. A woman sat alone at a small table near the window, hands folded too tightly in her lap, shoulders shaking just enough to notice if you were looking closely. Her blind date had already left, his chair still slightly angled away, like even the furniture wanted distance. Tears slid down her face unchecked, not dramatic, not loud, just quiet surrender. Across the room, a single father noticed, and before he could stop them, his 3 little daughters were already on their feet, walking straight toward her with the fearless compassion only children carry. If you believe that kindness can change the course of a life, that second chances still exist in a world that often feels cold. Take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us why empathy still matters. Ethan hadn't planned on being out that evening. Most nights were a careful choreography of homework, dinner, baths, and bedtime stories, followed by exhaustion and quiet. But his triplet daughters, Lily, Ava, and Sophie, had begged for pancakes at their favorite diner after soccer practice, and he had given in. The booth they sat in was cramped, syrup-sticky, and loud with laughter, the girls talking over each other in their identical voices, identical curls bouncing as they moved. To most people, the sight of triplets was a novelty. To Ethan, it was his entire world, born from one of the darkest and brightest days of his life. Their mother, Claire, had died 3 years earlier, after a sudden illness that didn't care about plans or promises. One week she was laughing, teasing Ethan about his terrible coffee-making skills. The next, she was gone, leaving him with 3 infants and a grief so heavy it felt physical. He learned how to function through numbness, how to show up even when his heart felt hollowed out. He became both parents, both arms to cry into, both voices of comfort and discipline. Some days he did it well, other days he barely did it at all. The diner was warm, buzzing with low conversation and clinking plates, a place where loneliness and togetherness sat side by side. That was how Ethan noticed her, not because she was crying, but because she was trying so hard not to. Her date had been wrong from the start, he could tell that much even from a distance. The man had leaned back too casually, checked his phone too often, laughed at the wrong moments. When he finally stood and left without looking back, something inside Ethan tightened. He recognized that look in her eyes because he had worn it himself, in different circumstances, but with the same ache. The look of wondering if something was fundamentally broken inside you. Before Ethan could redirect them, the girls had noticed too. Children see things adults train themselves to ignore. They slid out of the booth, 3 small figures moving with quiet determination. He half stood, panic fluttering in his chest, but something stopped him. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was the faint, dangerous hope that the world could still surprise him in gentle ways. The woman looked up as the girls approached, startled, wiping her cheeks quickly. Her eyes were red, her mascara smudged, but there was a softness there too, something unguarded. Lily, always the boldest, tilted her head the way she did when she was worried. Ava reached out without touching, her hand hovering as if asking permission. Sophie simply smiled, small and sincere. They didn't say much, just enough to ask why she was sad, to offer her a napkin, to sit with her for a moment. No judgment, no awkwardness, just presence. Something shifted in the air. The woman laughed weakly through her tears, the sound surprised and broken but real. She nodded, breathed, let herself be seen. Ethan watched, heart pounding, torn between embarrassment and awe. He apologized when he finally approached, explaining that his daughters had a habit of caring too much, that they meant no harm. The woman shook her head, still smiling, and told him, without words, that they had already done more good than they could know. Her name was Mara. She hadn't dated seriously in years, not since a long, slow heartbreak that eroded her confidence piece by piece. Friends had convinced her to try again, to put herself out there, promising that vulnerability was brave. Tonight had felt like proof that bravery only led to humiliation. She had sat there replaying every moment, wondering why she was never enough, why people always seemed to leave once they got close enough to see her cracks. And then 3 children had walked up to her like she was worth stopping for. Ethan invited her to join them, and to his surprise, she accepted. The girls squeezed together to make room, immediately peppering her with innocent questions about her favorite color, her favorite dessert, whether she liked dogs. Mara answered them all, laughter coming easier now, the heaviness in her chest easing just a little. Ethan watched her carefully, noticing the way she listened intently to the girls, how she never spoke down to them, how her eyes softened when they talked about their mom. She didn't flinch at the mention of loss. She didn't rush to change the subject. She let the sadness exist without trying to fix it. The night stretched on longer than planned. Pancakes were finished, milkshakes half melted. Outside, the city hummed, unaware that something fragile and meaningful was unfolding in a booth near the window. When it was time to leave, Mara hesitated, clearly unsure how to step back into the world she had felt rejected by only an hour earlier. Ethan offered to walk her to her car. It wasn't a grand gesture, just a quiet one, but it mattered. Over the following weeks, they ran into each other again, sometimes by accident, sometimes by design. Coffee turned into park visits, where the girls raced ahead on the playground while Ethan and Mara sat on a bench, talking about grief and fear and the strange way life kept moving whether you were ready or not. Mara admitted how scared she was to hope for anything. Ethan admitted how terrifying it was to love again when you had already lost so much. Neither promised anything. Neither rushed. They just kept showing up. The challenges didn't disappear. The girls had their own wounds, their own moments of anger and confusion that erupted unexpectedly. Mara struggled with feeling like an outsider, unsure of her place in a family that already felt complete without her. Ethan wrestled with guilt, wondering if letting someone new into their lives was a betrayal of the woman he had loved so deeply. There were misunderstandings, quiet nights where doubt crept in, mornings where it felt easier to pull away than lean closer. But slowly, change found them, in small ways. Mara learned how to braid hair, her fingers clumsy at first, the girls patient and giggling. Ethan learned how to talk about Claire without his voice breaking every time. The girls learned that loving someone new didn't erase the love they already carried. It expanded it. Healing didn't arrive like a miracle. It came like sunrise, gradual and easy to miss if you weren't paying attention. One evening, months later, they returned to the same diner. The same booth, the same window. This time, laughter filled the space, unburdened and full. Mara caught her reflection in the glass and barely recognized the woman she saw. Her eyes still held depth, still carried memory, but the sadness no longer defined her. Ethan watched his daughters lean against her, comfortable, safe, and felt something settle in his chest. Not closure, not replacement, just peace. If this story is touching something deep inside you right now, if it's reminding you of losses you've carried or hopes you've almost given up on, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and let us know you're here. Your engagement helps stories like this reach others who need them. Life doesn't always give us the moments we plan for. Sometimes it gives us the moments we need when we least expect them. A blind date gone wrong. A diner booth. 3 small voices asking a simple question. Kindness doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it walks up quietly in the form of children who don't yet know how the world teaches us to look away. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Please leave a comment below and share what this story made you feel, or a moment when kindness changed your life. Your words matter more than you know. Mara never forgot that night. Neither did Ethan. It became the story they returned to when things felt hard, when fear whispered that happiness was temporary or undeserved. It reminded them that pain and hope could exist in the same space, that being broken didn't make you unlovable. And somewhere, in a warm diner filled with ordinary people living extraordinary quiet lives, a woman stopped crying because 3 children cared enough to ask why.